We're always told that self-control is this amazing virtue, right? A sign of real strength. But what if I told you that the most exhausting, most biologically expensive thing your brain can do is to just stay calm? That's what we're going to get into. We're going to unpack the hidden price we all pay for bottling up our emotions and why swallowing your feelings doesn't make them go away. Nope, it just shoves them into your nervous system. This quote right here, it's everything. It really just nails what we're about to talk about. See, this isn't about trying to get rid of your feelings. It's about what happens when we try to bury them, thinking that's the end of it. But as we're going to see, they have a funny way of clawing their way back to the surface, and usually at the worst possible time. So here's the game plan. First, we're going to talk about the real cost of putting on a calm face. Then we'll dive into what I call the pressure cooker problem. From there, we'll map out the whole suppression explosion loop. We'll even look at your brain's big social gamble. And then, the good stuff, we'll get into the practical tools for becoming an emotional plumber. And we'll wrap it all up with a new way of thinking, seeing yourself as a vessel, not a vault. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, the high cost of calm. And this is where we run smack into something called the Stoicism paradox.
This idea is so important, but it's totally counterintuitive. We think that holding it all in is neat and efficient, and letting it out is messy. But the neuroscience? It tells us the exact opposite. See, the act of actively pushing down an emotion takes a ton of energy from your prefrontal cortex. That's your brain's CEO. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it, but it takes constant grinding effort, and it just drains the battery you need for everything else, like solving problems or just focusing.
So let's give this a name. It's called emotional bottling, or if you want to get technical, expressive suppression. And what's so wild about this is the split it creates. I mean, think about it. You can put on a calm face, a perfect social mask, but that doesn't turn off the alarm bells inside. Your heart's still pounding, cortisol's still flooding your system. All you've done is stop the outward sign of the feeling. The feeling itself, all that energy, it's still there, trapped inside your body. And that trapped energy has to go somewhere, which brings us perfectly to our next section, the pressure cooker problem. This is that thing where the tiniest, most ridiculous thing can set off a huge explosion. I think we've all been there. Seriously, have you ever just completely lost your mind over something, like a slow Wi-Fi signal or not being able to find your keys? Well, you're not a bad person. You're just experiencing the end result of all that emotional bottling. That huge reaction. It was never really about the internet, was it? It was about all the other frustrations you've been stuffing down all day, or all week. The slow internet was just the last drop of water that made the whole pot boil over.
And what's happening inside your brain is literally a tug of war. On one end of the rope is your prefrontal cortex, the manager, saying, be cool, look professional, don't cause a scene. But on the other end is your amygdala, the brain's smoke detector, and it is screaming, danger, react now. When you bottle things up, your manager wins control of your face. But your alarm system just keeps pulling and pulling on that rope, creating this chronic low-level stress. It's like your body's fight-or-flight system is stuck on, just simmering all the time. And this silent battle, it's not so silent to your body. Oh no, it shows up. It's that permanent knot in your shoulders. It's those tension headaches. It's that feeling of being wired but tired all the time. There's a term for this, somatic displacement. It just means that the stress you don't process with your mind gets displaced and stored in your body. And remember that brain battery we talked about? Well, because so much energy is going into just keeping that lid on the pot, the battery gets totally drained. You're left with what's called cognitive depletion. You're just too tired to think straight. Okay, so we've seen the symptoms. Now let's look at the actual machine that causes them. And this is key. This whole thing isn't random. It's not some flaw in your character. It is a predictable biological cycle. It's called the suppression explosion loop. Let's walk through it. Stage 1, something happens, a trigger. Your boss says something passive-aggressive. Boom, you feel anger. Stage 2, expressive suppression. Your manager brain takes over. You smile and say, got it, social mask engaged. That leads to stage 3, somatic sequestration. The anger didn't just vanish. Its energy got locked away or sequestered in your body. Now fast forward through a few more of these moments and you hit stage 4, metabolic exhaustion. Your brain is just out of juice for self-control. And then stage 5, the disproportionate explosion. You get home, you stub your toe, and all that anger from the whole day just erupts. And the worst part? The guilt you feel after exploding just makes you want to suppress even harder the next time, which starts the whole loop all over again.
So this begs a really big question, right? If this whole cycle is so destructive, why on earth do our brains keep doing it? Well, it's because your brain is constantly making a high-stakes social gamble, choosing internal damage over social risk. The answer really comes down to survival. Your brain's number one job, above almost everything else, is to keep you safe inside your social group. For our ancestors, getting kicked out of the tribe was a death sentence. So your brain is hardwired to care more about short-term social harmony than your long-term internal health. It does a quick calculation and decides that the immediate danger of upsetting your boss is way bigger than the slow, quiet damage of stress. And this table just lays it out so clearly. You choose suppression, you get the short-term win. Social safety, you avoid a fight. Awesome. But the long-term cost is something called allostatic load. That's just the scientific term for the wear and tear on your body from being under constant stress. On the flip side, expressing the emotion gives you a release, but it comes with a social risk. And your brain, which is obsessed with immediate survival, will almost always bet on suppression. And here is the great irony in all of this. It's called the rebound effect. You know the old trick, whatever you do, don't think of a pink elephant? Well, what are you thinking about right now? Exactly. The same thing happens with emotions. When you tell your brain, don't be angry, you're actually forcing a part of your brain to constantly scan for anger. This keeps that feeling in a high alert state, just simmering away in the background, which is way more draining than just letting yourself feel it for a minute and letting it go. Okay, so we get the problem. We understand the loop. We know why our brains are wired this way. Now for the most important part. What the heck do we do about it? So let's get into section 5 and talk about becoming an emotional plumber, using some real, practical tools to keep the system clear. Here are 4 fantastic tools for your toolkit. We've got affective labeling, which you can think of as name it to tame it. Then there's the somatic check-in, which is all about listening to your body. Third is cognitive reappraisal, shifting from drama to data. And finally, scheduled processing, which is about finishing the stress cycle. We're going to focus on the first and third ones because they are game changers. Name it to name it might be the most powerful, simple trick in all of neuroscience. It's so easy. When you feel that wave of anger or anxiety coming on, instead of fighting it, you just label it. You say to yourself, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. That simple act of putting words to the feeling does something miraculous. It gets your manager brain, the PFC, involved as an observer instead of a suppressor. And that simple switch actually calms down the alarm system. It's like your brain's manager just walks over and gently turns down the volume knob on the alarm. Cognitive reappraisal is all about changing the story you tell yourself. So instead of a threat mindset where you think, this criticism is an attack on me, you switch to a data mindset. You reframe the feeling as just information. This anxiety I'm feeling, it's just data telling me that I really care about this project. Or this frustration is just data telling me one of my boundaries was crossed. Shifting from drama to data immediately lowers the emotional temperature and stops the pressure from even building up in the first place. And all of these tools, everything we've talked about, it all points to this one final massive shift in perspective. It's about completely reframing your relationship with your emotions. It's about seeing yourself as a vessel, not a vault. Look, if you take only one thing away today, please let it be this. The biggest insight from the science of emotions is that feelings are energy. They are biological signals that are designed to move through you, not get stored in you. Anger is supposed to move you to protect a boundary. Fear is supposed to move you to get to safety. Real emotional strength isn't about having no feelings. It's about getting really skilled at letting them flow through you. So I want to leave you with this question, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. For most of your life, have you been treating your own body like a vault? A place where you lock away difficult feelings, hoping nobody ever finds the key, all while the pressure inside is slowly cracking the walls? Here's the invitation. See yourself in a new way. Your heart is a vessel. It's designed for things to flow through it. Emotions are meant to come in, deliver their message, and then flow out, making room for whatever comes next. When you learn to be a better plumber, you don't stop the water from flowing. You just make sure the pipes stay clear, so you can experience your whole life without ever having to worry about a burst pipe again.